1. Life during the Industrial Revolution. For most of human history we lived as either hunter-gatherers or in agricultural societies. Most people's lives were centered on obtaining food, either through hunting or farming. The majority of people lived rural lives in small villages. Everything people owned was made by hand. Many people made their own clothes and furniture. During the 18th century cities began to grow and manufacturing of goods became mechanized. Inventions such as steam-powered machines and a range of cloth-making innovations meant that goods could be mass-manufactured. Refrigeration meant food could be sent long distances, and people were no longer tied to their local food supply. People left their rural lives and headed to the cities to work in factories. These innovations meant freedom for people, but also the opportunity for exploitation by ruthless industrialists. This movement of people from an agricultural lifestyle to an urban one brought many changes. And not all were for the better. City life in the 19th century was dismal, or was the working poor. As people moved away from their small family farms, the cities became quickly overcrowded, and many people lived in slum conditions. Cities struggled to overcome problems of housing, clean drinking water, and sewerage. Alcoholism became a social problem. Housing was cramped and many families lived in appalling conditions. Cities had poor infrastructure and slums developed. The writings of Charles Dickens showed the inequity of society. Wretched houses with broken windows patched with rags and paper. Every room let out to a different family, and in many instances to 2 or even 3, fruit and sweetstuff manufacturers in the cellars, barbers and red herring vendors in the front parlors, cobblers in their back, a bird fancier in the first floor, 3 families on the second, starvation in the attics, Irishmen in the passage, a musician in the front kitchen, a charwoman and 5 hungry children in the back one. Filth everywhere, a gutter before the houses, and a drain behind, clothes drying, and slops emptying from the windows, men and women, in every variety of scanty and dirty apparel, lounging, scolding, drinking, smoking, squabbling, fighting, and swearing. Charles Dickens, Sketches by Boz, 1839. Children were treated especially poorly at this time. Factories would employ children as cheap labor. Working conditions were terrible and there was little in the way of safety. Children worked from dawn to dusk in dangerous conditions, and many children were killed or injured in the machines. Poor children were sent to workhouses where they had little education. A law was passed so that children would be educated at least well enough to sign their own indenture papers.